This topic of big regrets reminds me of that hospice nurse, Bronnie Ware, because she spent years helping patients in their last few weeks of life. And she would have these deep conversations with them. And a common thing that would surface from these conversations is really some of their biggest regrets in life. And she was so moved by these and all these conversations that she ended up writing a book that was called The Top Five Regrets of the Dying. Maybe you've heard of it. And I'll list those five if you're curious, but then I want to share the top five regrets of not the dying, but the retiring. I sort of feel like the Bronnie Ware of retirement because over the last decade and a half, we've had so many personal and deep conversations with our clients and people who are non-clients around everything related to retirement. So let's get into just the first five regrets of the dying, and then I'll share the five regrets of the retiring so that you can really avoid these and then live a more fulfilled retirement. So the first regret that Bronnie Ware heard was, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. This was really the most common regret, she said. Many of the people had not followed their dreams and they really more followed what other people expected of them. Number two was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. They feel like they might have missed out on some of the children's youth or maybe time with their spouse while they were working so hard. Number three was, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. A lot of people said that they suppressed those true feelings in order just to keep peace with others. Number four was, I wish I stayed in touch with my friends. Now, often, it took a while. It really got all the way to the end of the life for them to realize the full benefit of old friends. And by the time they were at this point, it was kind of too late to reach back out or track them down. Now, the good news for you is that in retirement, this is one of the best times to rekindle those old friendships. On to number five, and then we'll get to the five regrets of retirees. But number five, the thing that Bronnie heard was, I wish I had let myself be happier. Many people didn't realize till the end of life that happiness can be a choice. The secret is just recognizing that it's not the destination, but it's really just the choice and the traveling and the journey that where you can recognize happiness along the way. It sort of reminds me of that wave analogy, the surfer analogy of enjoy every ride while it lasts. Not all of life is 100% happiness all the time. That wouldn't make sense, but there's going to be another wave coming soon. Now, let's move on to the top retirement regrets and what retirees said they wish they did differently. Two of them actually overlap with what Bronnie Ware wrote down in her book, and then three are more unique to just retirees. So number one comes from a result when we ask retirees who are already retired, what advice would you give to someone who is close to retirement or recently retired? And then they often say, do it now, or I wish I had done it sooner. So that's a common thing we hear, but the question is, why do people work longer than necessary? Now, one reason I've found is that it's because of fear, right? Worry of running out of money, or maybe the fear of the unknown of this new period of life. Another reason people keep working is it's that feeling of just one more year. I'll work one more year and then that's it. Then I'm going to retire, right? And then a year later comes and they look at the economy or they look at the stock market or their accounts. And then they think, oh, maybe I'll just do one more year again. Maybe it's just a feeling of security. Maybe that lack of feeling of security, and they want to just think that they're getting more secure by working another year. Another reason that people work longer than normal is sometimes due to loyalty to the company that they work at. And they just want to make sure that their departure, everything's going to be okay. Because if you're valuable, your employer is going to want to extend your retirement as long as possible, right? It's good to prepare and get everything in order, but just remember, be confident, be firm in what is best for you. And also remember, no one's going to value your time the way that you value your time. If you agree with that, let me know by clicking the like button. Now, onto the second regret of retirees. What we hear from people is, this is actually when they say, I wish I didn't listen to my advisor. I wish I didn't take his advice on this or her advice on this. Because it can be hard, once you retire, it can be hard for some to shift from that mode of saving and adding to their accounts to now spending it, right? The first few years of retirement, people tend to be a little bit more conservative than normal, more than so when they're working, and then also more so than 5 years into retirement. It's like that moment where you pull back a little bit, and that fear of running out is still there because it's so new. Everything is so new. So the big regret is just not spending more money early in retirement. These are the go-go years, right? This is when you're young and you're active and you could move easier, you could travel easier. And this is the time where we want to fill the years with experiences. Now, if you're feeling that way of more conservative during the, getting close to or early years of retirement, a way to get past this and get to a level 10 confidence is just to think about those expenses or trips or whatever it might be, and then enter them into the planning software and then see the impact of the decision that you're thinking about making. Look at the impact in your plan. And this is what it looks like. Here's an example, which you may have seen before, but the thing to look at and to plug in is really all of these what if scenarios. What happens if we did retire sooner? Or what if we started spending more, or we had the big expense, or did the sell a house and buy a house, whatever it might be. Plug in all of those what if scenarios, and that can bring a lot of peace of mind. And then also, if you see the plan crashing and it doesn't look so good when you enter in some of these trips or whatever it might be, well, it's good to know that before you spent the money, right? But for all of our clients, you really barely notice the shift here. The blue bars barely go down. Now, the third regret is I wish I traveled more when I was younger, and younger meaning in 60s and 70s, right? Maybe because they didn't want to spend more or whatever it might be. Remember, just what we were talking about earlier. As you get older, it can get harder to do international travel or do the national parks. Or I don't know if you've ever tried sleeping in a sleeper car before on the train, but I couldn't even do it when I was 15. So I can't imagine doing it, traveling that way anymore. But on to the fourth way. And this one, I've got a practical tip if you get stuck on this one. But the regret is, I wish I pursued my new interests earlier in retirement. Because once we get to this retirement date, we've got more time than ever, right? And there's an adjustment period of figuring out what brings us joy or what brings us fulfillment. And then also what kind of drains our energy or joy or fulfillment. And it's often common to feel bored in the first few months or maybe year of retirement. And we just want to be careful not to replace our free time with just TV or just the phone all day or habits that we don't find beneficial to our life, right? Now is the time to really explore interests that we have, maybe curiosities or fascinations that we might have. Staying curious is really the fountain of youth. And this is also the time to spend money on those curiosities or those interests, because we've got it. Think of it as an investment. Now you might be asking, what if I don't know what I want to explore more of, or I'm not sure what my interests are? Well, here's that practical tip. After you watch this video, in a minute or two, click on your YouTube search history. And then other than retirement videos, what are you watching that could be something of interest? What are the themes that you're seeing in your YouTube search history? It might be kind of fun to see. My attorney friend, I'd mentioned him in a previous video, but his interest, he was watching videos on welding. That was a fascination to him. And he did this for 6 months and I think even a year. And then he started taking classes. And now it's been a few years and now he's got his own welding shop or whatever you might be, all the tools and things that you need. And that's his hobby. That's his fun, creative outlet. Another client of mine, he was big into woodworking and then he invested the money. To me, it seems expensive, but again, everyone has different things they value. And as long as you can line up your money choices with your values, that makes the money decisions so much easier. So he created a whole workshop in his basement all around woodworking. And then remember, in retirement, we want to really have that fulfillment. We need to have 3 things. The 3 things are creativity, we need connection, and then contribution. So creativity is that fascination, the learning, the constantly trying new things. Connection is with others, other humans, and then also with God. And then contribution is using those skills that you have or those talents or the money and then contributing to the lives of others. That's where we've seen people as the most fulfilled. Now, this last regret is one that might be the most important. And it kind of reminds me of a client from about 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago. She was 69. And this was before we were a national retirement planning firm and before we were helping people all over the country and before we were doing the video conferencing or Zoom meetings, things like that. And we just met, me and this client met once per year, face to face at the office. And then we'd have phone calls throughout the rest of the year. But in the meeting, we talked about having a level 10 confidence with the money things, which was great. We want all our clients to have that level 10 confidence. And she was there and she had no worries about money. So then we started to I asked about the other things in life, right? We want to cover, once we cover finances, there's other F's like faith and family. fitness, and fun, right? So she was traveling, she was exploring different hobbies and fascinations that she had. She was contributing to causes that she cared about. But the lowest score of those 5 Fs was fitness. So we talked more about what she could do, and what she could commit to over the next year, and what could actually raise that score of fitness. And then I met her a year later, and we met at the office face to face. She was now 70, but she looked 60, or she even looked 55. I was blown away. And no, she did not have work done. She really just started taking her health seriously. And it was simple things. It was consistent walking, yoga, and being conscious of what she ate. And it was almost like a complete transformation. And she knew it. She said she never felt better. She felt a lot better than she did 10 years ago, now being 70. She felt better at 70 than she did at 60. And she's still doing these things to this day, the health-related things and all 5 Fs. And she's looking and feeling amazing. So remember, retirement is more than just the numbers. We want all those parts, those 5 Fs, to be optimized so you can live the best stage of life. Yeah, that's what this retirement channel is all about. It's more than just money. So if your advisor isn't talking about you with these, talking to you about these things, these 5 Fs and everything else related to retirement, reach out to us to see if we've got space and to talk, and we could have a conversation about it. And if you're thinking about your retirement more, check out these videos here, and then I'll see you there.